This incident was captured by cameras recently. Embakasi MP Paul Ongili, alias Babu Owino, is seen aiming a gun at a person later identified as Felix Orinda, who works as a disc jockey at a club in Nairobi, before firing at him 2 times. The incident receiving huge condemnation from Kenyans.
The use of a firearm as envisaged by law is only justifiable for the protection of life and property. Firearms are not meant for use during domestic disputes, in public places.
In court, Babu Owino is charged with attempted murder. Owino happens to be one amongst an estimated 750,000 Kenyans licensed to own guns. This represents about 1.5 guns in 10 persons in Kenya, by far the highest in the region. Babu Owino's case is just one amongst voluminous instances recorded in recent times. But are there loopholes in the law regulating firearms in civilian hands?
This case is not the DJ against Babu Owino. It's the state versus Babu Owino or against Babu Owino. So, but if you look at the charges preferred, I find that some charges that were supposed to have been preferred have been omitted either by design or by omission. Yeah, and if you look at being accused of attempted murder, and we are not charging him with an offense related to gun handling, then it means somebody somewhere did that by design. Because if at all the DJ drops the case and the state feels like we don't have enough evidence because the key witness has withdrawn, we need to drop the matter, then it means Babu Owino will go scot-free. Yet we have other charges related to the handling of firearms. These charges are in the Penal Code and they are also found in the Firearm Act.
In the Firearms Act, there are 3 instances where a private licensed gun holder is justified to use a firearm. 1, when one's life is in danger or life of those around you is in danger, while protecting one's property, and when helping security agencies enforce the law. In Kenya, the Firearms Licensing Board is tasked with the responsibility of carrying out requisite vetting before a civilian is granted the license to own a firearm.
There must be need. You as a person, you feel that there is a need for me to carry a firearm for personal protection or for personal safety reasons, then you are supposed to go ahead and apply for a firearm handling permit from the government. And we have a body that is mandated to do the vetting and then making recommendations to the Inspector of General Police to issue you with a firearm handling permit.
According to security expert George Musamali, the process of owning a gun should not be devoid of a thorough assessment of threat and risk of the applicant.
Any member of public who feels that he needs to carry a firearm must sign a prescribed form. This form is gotten from the Firearm Licensing Board, and with that form there are several documents that you're required to have. That form should be accompanied by a certificate of good conduct, current from the DCI. You're also supposed to give in copies of your national identity card or passport. You're supposed to give a medical report, psychiatrist report, confirming that you are a person of sound mind, filled in by a certified doctor. And then lastly, you're supposed to provide 6 months bank statements.
A medical report is also conducted.
If you go through a psychiatrist test, a report will come out and say, George is of unsound mind, George is temperamental, he's hot-tempered, George is bound to violence. So from my examination, I don't feel he's fit to handle a firearm. So that is why we need to have that report. And it's not something that used to happen before. Yeah, it's a new inclusion to the amended Act of 2012.
But aside from the civilian-held firearms, there is an emerging concern that some elements within the security agencies are turning rogue. Numerous cases of extrajudicial killings have been reported over the years.
Police are allowed to use necessary force. So how do we quantify this necessary force? It depends on the circumstances. And as I've said, civilians are limited in their powers of using limited force. But police are allowed in several circumstances to use their firearms And we call this justifiable. And I've said they are found in the CPC. Number one, when they're protecting life and property. When somebody is resisting arrest, the policeman is allowed to use his firearm.
Other instances when security agents are allowed to use necessary force by law is in self-defense, if an arrested person is attempting to escape, and when a person whose warrant has been issued is attempting to escape. Yet there is also an ongoing debate surrounding arming of security guards. Proponents have cited terrorism incidences as a justification for this need.
Where I sit, I think we are looking at a quick, simple and wrong solution to a problem. We cannot fight terror using firearms alone. We need to have a proper strategy of fighting terrorism, not only in Kenya, but internationally. This is a global phenomenon, and you'll find that every day terrorism is evolving.
But the reference of Uganda as a case study, according to Musamali, is misguided.
How do we monitor a person who has a gun culture, somebody who has been trained, somebody who has been fighting in the bush? What do? Let's talk to the private security companies to employ these people so that it will be a way of monitoring them. And that is how Uganda ended up now arming private security guards. But do we have the same culture here in Kenya? We don't. And if you go to Uganda right now, you'll find that once those ones retire, the new ones, there's control in the issuance of these firearms to the new recruits now that are joining the private security company.
The country has a major problem of proliferation of small arms, and while various disarmament exercises have been carried out, the elephant in the room remains the country's porous borders. But over and above this, it appears the problem may never go away. As Musamali puts it, guns have become a symbol of status in this society. Caroline Kamar reporting for Channel 1 News.